Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the staggering financial iceberg that is lurking just beneath the surface of the 90-minute games we all love. Our focus, the true cost of matches. We're going to peel back the curtain on stadium economics, and let me tell you, the reality of running these massive megastructures is completely different from what most fans think. So let's just get right into it. Picture this. You're standing in a crowd of 60,000 cheering fans. You look around the bowl, you do some quick mental math on ticket sales, and you think, wow, I have uncovered the ultimate cash machine. I mean, it seems so simple, right? You pour some concrete, put in some seats, and just watch the money roll in on match days. Is owning a stadium the greatest business in the world? You run those numbers in your head. 60,000 tickets, let's say $100 each. That feels like you're literally printing $6 million in a single afternoon. It sounds absolutely incredible. But as we're about to see, that $6 million is a massive illusion because revenue is absolutely not profit. And every single dollar of that gate money comes with a very heavy cost attached to it. Which brings us to part one, the true cost of matches. Let's completely shatter that illusion right now by looking at the operational nightmare that just eats up that gate revenue. We're breaking down exactly what it takes to open the doors for a single day. And the sheer scale here is wild. Before a ball is even kicked, hundreds of thousands of dollars are just burned. Take the energy consumption, for example. We're talking between 50,000 and 70,000 kilowatt hours of electricity in roughly 10 hours. To put that into perspective, that is like consuming the monthly electricity of 60 average homes in one single afternoon. You're paying for thousands of police and private security personnel, standby paramedics, ticketing staff, and cleaning crews who are literally shoveling tons of rubbish after the final whistle. Oh, and don't forget the massive heating and cooling systems, the HVAC, which alone can account for up to 45% of that massive energy bill. It's basically a small city running at absolute full power. And because these operating costs are so sky high, an empty seat isn't just zero revenue, it's actually a negative. See, when a fan walks into a stadium, their spending doesn't stop at the turnstile. There's ancillary spending, stuff like parking, food, drinks, merchandise, which averages around $40 to $85 a head. So if your team goes on a bad losing streak and, say, 15,000 seats go unsold, well, you haven't just lost the ticket money. You've lost over $1 million in potential match day income. Empty seats are brutally, brutally expensive. Moving on to part two, the billion-dollar debt trap. To even host these incredibly expensive match days, you first have to actually build the stadium. And this introduces catastrophic levels of upfront capital costs and long-term debt. A modern stadium is no longer just some seats around a grass field. You run into these massive capital traps. First up, land acquisition. Buying contiguous urban leases comes with absurd markups. Manchester United is dealing with this exact land trap right now. A site next to Old Trafford that was initially projected at £50 million, the current owners are reportedly demanding £400 million. And that's before a single shovel has even hit the dirt. Then you've got construction costs, cantilevered seating, tens of thousands of tons of steel. Next is technology, like broadcast fiber optics and high-density Wi-Fi networks meant for 60,000 simultaneous connections. And finally, the VIP build-outs, which essentially require 5-star kitchens and climate-controlled suites. By the time you cut the ribbon, you've spent anywhere from $1 billion to, well, SoFi Stadium's record-breaking $5.5 billion. Now, nobody writes a check for billions out of pocket, right? You have to borrow. And this brilliantly illustrates why timing is literally everything in stadium economics. Just think about the annual debt interest. Tottenham financed their billion-pound stadium by locking in long-term bonds at a really smart 3.16% interest rate back in 2019. That cost them about £30 million a year in interest. But Manchester United? They're looking at financing a £2 to £3 billion stadium in today's market, where rates are sitting at a brutal 7 to 7.5%. And that percentage difference isn't just cosmetic. That creates a staggering £110 million gap in annual interest payments. Just think about that. That massive gap is the razor-thin line between a business that can breathe and one that is constantly gasping for air. Every single year, you have to find that money before you can even think about buying a new star player or actually turning a profit. So how do they survive it? That brings us to part three, the premium profit engine. How on earth do owners actually survive these crippling operational costs and this mountain of debt if general tickets don't even come close to covering it? Well, welcome to the hidden engine of stadium economics. The math here is genuinely mind-blowing.
While 85 to 90% of a stadium is filled with general admission fans, that tiny remaining 10 to 15%, the luxury VIP hospitality boxes, generates roughly half of the total ticketing income. Half!
The scale of this is just wild. Let's look at Arsenal's Emirates Stadium, for example. A standard general admission ticket might run you about £80, but a VIP corporate hospitality experience, that can cost up to £6,500 per person. Companies are willingly paying over 80 times the price of a standard seat. Why? Because they use it to entertain clients. And here is the absolute magic trick for the stadium owners. These VIP experiences are usually locked into 3 to 7 year hospitality contracts. They provide incredibly stable cash flow that doesn't just disappear if the team loses 3 games in a row. A bad run of form might clear out the general waitlist, but it absolutely will not cancel a binding corporate contract.
Beyond those VIP boxes, selling the literal name on the building is an absolute necessity. Across the 7 major professional sports leagues, naming rights generate nearly $900 million annually. Deals like SoFi's $20 million a year contract mean that every single time a journalist writes an article or someone asks their GPS for directions to the game, the corporate name is front and center. It is unskippable, global advertising that hits the bank account regardless of the final score. Next up, Part 4, the 365-day survival plan. But here's the thing. Even with all those VIPs and lucrative naming rights, a stadium built solely for football is essentially just a dark, empty, money-draining concrete bowl for 335 days of the year. And the debt? The debt doesn't pause just because there isn't a match today. So the smartest operators have to transform their venues from occasional event spaces into relentless, year-round commercial machines. If you look at a typical stadium utilization calendar, you'll notice how little time core football fixtures actually take up. Maybe 30 days. You have to fill all those other dark days. You need 60 days of NFL games and global boxing matches. You need 150 days summer concert season, and you absolutely need 365 days of mixed-use real estate operations keeping the lights on.
To pull that off, you have to invest heavily upfront. Tottenham, for instance, installed this massive retractable pitch system. We're talking 3 steel trays weighing thousands of tons that literally slide away to reveal a custom synthetic NFL turf underneath. And that specific innovation meant that in 2025, Tottenham generated an incredible £77.3 million solely from non-football events. That nearly matches Chelsea's entire football matchday revenue for the same exact period. They designed a destination, not just a sports venue.
But if you get this delicate balance of debt and utility wrong, well, you end up in what we can safely call the Valencia nightmare. They started building the new Mestalla Stadium way back in 2007. They ran out of money by 2009. And the result? A half-built concrete skeleton sat there as an abandoned monument to financial disaster in the middle of the city for 16 long years. The money just completely dried up. It is the absolute worst-case scenario made visible. Which perfectly segues into our final section, Part 5, the financial razor's edge. Let's look at exactly how fast these margins can flip from a money-printing machine to a total disaster like Valencia. Stadium owners are walking on a financial razor's edge here. In an optimistic scenario, your team qualifies for European competition, your summer concerts are fully booked, you lock in a low fixed interest rate, and you walk away with a workable net profit. Okay, but let's look at a more realistic scenario. Say your team finishes mid-table. Your events income takes a hit because of a soft market or a few concert cancellations. Suddenly, because your revenue dropped, your debt coverage dips, which triggers a strict financial penalty rule from your bank, hiking your interest rate by 1%. Just like that, the difference between a good year and a bad year creates an 80 to 100 million pound net loss crater in your balance sheet. That intense volatility is exactly why experts in this field have concluded this. You are not buying a sports venue. You are buying a commercial property business with a sports club attached. And it's so true. The Atlanta Braves building Truist Park is a great example. It's the center of a $400 million mixed-use campus. They pull in massive real estate revenues that have absolutely nothing to do with whether the team wins or loses. The 90 minutes of football that everyone actually comes to see is ultimately just the anchor tenant for a colossal commercial property operation. It really leaves you wondering, is the football match itself becoming merely a loss leader for a 365-day real estate empire? If it takes hundreds of thousands of dollars just to turn the lights on, and the real profit is made from VIP contracts, NFL games, and surrounding real estate, as construction costs soar into the billions, will the actual sport soon become the least important part of the stadium business? Honestly, think about that the next time you scan your ticket at the gate. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and we will catch you next time.